I watched these two back to back. In hindsight, not the best idea, but here we are. I'm Micah, licensed therapist, and here we like to talk about horror. This one's a Patreon request. Thank you, Lauren Stacy. Attention, again, is a French film, and it is appropriately named. There's a lot of tension and suspense. The main character in this movie is hiding at multiple points from the predator, the villain of the movie. I even found myself holding my breath like it was going to help her somehow not be found by this dude. And I realized I was doing it. I was like, wait a second. And then you start panicking and thinking, oh my God, what would I do in this situation? So this movie opens up with a woman just saying over and over again, I won't let anyone come between us anymore. That's ominous. So this movie begins with our main character, Marie, limping through the woods, injured, very clearly like running from something. Gets a little weird, and then all of a sudden we realize that this is a dream and that Marie has been sleeping in the car with her friend who was driving. So she wakes up and begins talking to her friend. The internet says Alexia. The subtitles on the movie I watched said Alex, so I'm just gonna go with Alex. If that's wrong, sorry, close enough. And she says something about how in her dream she was chasing herself, foreshadowing. So that's the first sign that there's something funny going on here. So I really like the cinematography of this movie. I think it was shot very well. Marie begins discussing the night before with her friend regarding their partying behavior, and Marie seems irritated with her friend because of her interactions with a guy. Seems a little bit excessive that she is as irritated as she is. They call each other names playfully, I think, and Marie states that we're here to study, not to party. It's clear that she does not approve of however her friend is managing her time. So they're headed out to Alex's rural family farmhouse. We cut to a scene of some children playing out in a field. There's this dude parked there that's in this like creepy Jeepers Creepers-esque truck. You start to realize that this guy is up to something adult in nature. It looks like there's another participant, but we quickly uncovered that it's just a head. So things escalated pretty quickly. You see the head face thing just fly out of the car. He's just done with it. So we got some necrophilia. Seems promising. So you know this is going somewhere super messed up. So they're driving through this shitty road, and one of them's like, I saw somebody, and just like wants to get out of the car. Why would you do that? Don't do that. Don't get out of the car, because you hopped out of the car and now you're lost in the friggin' corn. They were messing with each other. The car starts to pull off. She chases her along. I would murder someone over that one. So they end up at Alexia's family home. And there's her family, and she meets her dad, and her dad just kind of weirds me out. And being the first time that I watched this movie, I was like, what's this dad up to? Is this going to be part of the movie? No. It just feels that way. So Alex is adjusting to being home, and Marie goes outside to smoke cigarettes. At this point in my notes, I wrote, what the fuck kind of bird is that? So I think that there was some kind of bird sound that I don't remember now. So Marie's sitting outside, and she sees her friend Alexia showering. And then there is no shower curtain at all. Like, there has to be water all over that bathroom. I don't understand. So it's a little tense. Marie ends up walking away. Suddenly, shit starts to escalate quickly. It reminds me of Incident in Ghostland, where someone just like pulls up with their creepy ass car and just destroys everything. So Creeper Dude is intense. Small observation. I'm going to make this observation, and then we are going to drop it because I'm not discussing it any further. But I think this dude looks like a French Donald Trump. Creeper Dude comes in and just attacks the dad. Dog's harmed. That sucks. Creeper Dude ends up taking the dad and wedging his head in the rails of the stairs. And I thought, oh man, he's just going to leave him there and he's going to go kill the rest of the family because, like, dude's stuck there. No, that's not what happens. Let me try to describe this. I'm really bad at this. So he's got this guy's head wedged in these bars here. So, like, here's some bars. The guy's head's wedged in between it, and there's some stairs that go up here. There's this chest over here that he then grabs, puts over here next to the stairs, and shoves it, decapitating the dad. Decapitation! It's pretty intense. I wasn't expecting it. Made me flinch. So after this kill, mom is starting to get suspicious. What's going on? Tells the kid to go back to sleep because there's a little brother in this as well. And our protagonist has seen that this person has pulled up and is just hiding. So you can see like visibly on her that she is in fight or flight, that her sympathetic nervous system is kicking into gear, and that she has frozen. But once she breaks out of that shock freeze response, she does not play around with survival mode. Like, that was one thing that I noted, was just like, dang, girl's not gonna let somebody get her. It's almost like she'd been through it before, and that was weird to me. So she gets to work and starts erasing any sign of her existence in the room that she's in. I wrote in my notes, what the fuck is this guy? Like, she immediately knew what he was going to do. She didn't know why the guy was there, but she just knew he is going to kill us all. All right, something weird here. So my observation, I noticed he was just like a predator, like a predatory animal in human form. He seemed like he could use his own senses to hunt people down. Again, this is where the high tension becomes a very appropriate name. Tense survival movies like this get to me. They make me anxious. I'm thinking like Eden Lake or Hush, something where a very vulnerable person is trying to hide from a very scary murderer. And this is like those two, but a little more. Like, this one really had me tensed up. So the mom almost gets away, but nope. This is a throat cutting scene like no other I've seen. I'm pretty sure it's practical effects. Oftentimes there's a little bit of like disguising what's going on, but this one you just see all of everything. And it's a lot. And there's blood everywhere. Very bloody, very gory movie. Oh, and by the way, Marie has ran around the house to try to hide and has hid in a closet, which is the room that the mother is killed in when her throat is slit. So at this point, if I were Marie, I think I would just stay in the closet and hope for the best. Be like, this is where I live now. Then there was a jump scare. The jump scare was better than most jump scares. It wasn't anticipated. Marie walks out of the closet and goes towards the mother's allegedly lifeless body, who then twitches and isn't totally dead, but then dies, and it scared the ever-living shit out of me. Now there's a little boy, Alex's brother, who is in danger. At this point, we only know that the mom and the dad are dead. Marie runs into Alexia, and she's like super happy to see her and tries to free her, but she can't. Then this scene kind of sucks. The little boy is running, crying for his mom, running out into the cornfield. Marie just kind of sees it happening and sees the guy following him with a shotgun. So I made note that this dude seems to be a pro at home invasion. Like, he seems to know where everything is. So he kidnaps her friend and decides that something else is going on. He's missing something. So at this point, it seems like he does not know about Marie, sort of. But he goes back in, and it's really tense because it really seems like he knows something's up. Like, he knows she's there somewhere. She's evading him. She ends up getting back outside and trying for her friend again in the car. Nope, can't do it. It's like chains and shit. So then he locks up the back of the car and leaves. And so Marie is in the back of the car with Alex. Allegedly creepy guy is unaware of Marie's presence at this point still. I said she has some amazing control over herself, but I don't know if that's what it was. I mean, I'm just thinking like, run. He's leaving and taking your friend with him. Please just call the police. This whole time you get this vibe like she knows this dude. She's familiar with this dude somehow. So he's super uncomfortable. He's like a complete ass bag. Seems like it may be a game. They end up at a gas station and Marie makes an attempt to free her friend. Doesn't go well. She slips into the gas station and is trying to seek help. Dude is familiar with Jimmy, the guy working at the gas station, and there's more tense hiding, sneaking around. Jimmy ends up getting killed. Creeper dude kills him. So she's left behind. The car leaves and she's like, shit, there went my friend. She calls the police, trying to be like, hey, this is what's going on. Someone come here. And they're all like, you need to tell us where you are. And she's like, I don't freaking know. So she panicked, ends up stealing a car and a gun, because she has no patience for the police to arrive and find them. So we cut to a scene where the guy is driving and we see that he is super sadistic and is drinking alcohol and pouring alcohol over his shoulder on Alexia, who is chained in the back of the car. He also taunts her with a match. He like lights a match and acts like he's gonna like throw it on her after he poured all the alcohol on her. She's pretty upset, understandably. So we have Marie chasing this dude and he's going like really far out in the woods, which makes me concerned that he knows she's back there and that he's purposefully leading her further away deep into the woods. But I may have been overthinking it at this point. No, he knew. He ends up behind her, chasing her. So we can see that Marie is fading at this point because your body is not supposed to be in such high alert for that long. It can't sustain it. She wrecks the car and just like that, she's in the woods, just like in her dream, bloody, trying to escape. So he's looking for her. She ends up in this plastic greenhouse type thing hiding from him. It's very action packed. He tricks her. They have this exchange, this fight. She hits him with a rock. He doesn't immediately go down. He pops back up. So they end up in a race for who can choke or suffocate each other first, but plastic beats hand. Why not hold him longer to make sure he's dead? So there's this really like tense, unpleasant scene where he talks to Marie about her wanting Alex and how he wants Alex too in a sexual way. So she ends up killing him and has a full-on breakdown, like wailing after this ordeal. Then we cut to a scene where the police have shown up at the gas station. They're finding all this mayhem, and they watch the security video and realize that the French Trump guy doesn't exist, that it was Marie.
What a twist!
That Marie killed everybody and is experiencing some strange dissociative delusional episode. And French Trump guy is just another one of her alternate personalities. This would point to dissociative identity disorder or multiple personality disorder. We'll talk about that some more. I knew there was something here. And even though I kind of thought, like, man, there's something going on here. Like, there's some symbolism with this dude. It still was like, oh, dang. Oh, it really was her. Huh. And then you start going back and thinking about each one of the things that happened, and you see Marie in those different roles. That's a really high level of dissociation. I mean, a lot. She ends up going back to Alex in the car, lets her go. Alex and Marie are both like really confused because Alex is like, you did this to me, what the hell? And Marie is just like, what are you talking about? I saved you. So Marie ends up with this chainsaw that like I've never seen one like that before. Scarier than your average chainsaw. She starts chasing her through the woods. We have this extended trying to escape violent scene. Marie kills another dude who had stopped to try to help. I don't remember who did it, but in my notes at this point I wrote, don't pull anything out of your body. That's a big one. If you are ever impaled by anything, do not pull it out of your body yourself. Get to the hospital and let them do it so you don't bleed to death. I will probably say that every time that I watch a movie where this happens because it drives me crazy. Alex is confused. Marie is confused. It's very clear that she does not know what the heck's going on with this switching between our alternate personalities. She ends up hugging Alex. Alex is trying to like trick her into being like, yeah, we can be together. And this is where we hear the I'll never let anything come between us again that we heard in the very beginning of the movie. This is what Marie repeats over and over again. So then the scene ends and we come back to in a psych ward in a facility, and Alexia is watching Marie through a two-way mirror. So she survives, but like the PTSD of it all. And Marie's story ends with her in an inpatient facility. So I enjoyed this movie. It got my heart rate up, but it's not very accurate in its depiction of what might be DID or dissociative identity disorder. So it's a super rare, uncommon disorder that is quite controversial to a number of mental health care providers. But this shit right here is why there's so much stigma behind it. Well, I mean, also TikTok. But before social media, there was a significant stigma around dissociative identity disorder due to its depiction in media and movies. So the likelihood of someone with DID doing something like this is probably almost zero. Don't get me wrong, plenty of people have lied and tried to blame their actions on their alters. It hasn't worked out too well. But nice try. If I remember what I know about this disorder from my viewing experience, I can enjoy this movie a lot more. But if I consider it heavily and think about it from the context of real people with DID, it's worth a watch if you enjoy the suspense because it is, well, high tension. Okay, moving on. Now we're going to talk about Gaspar Noé. That's how I heard they pronounced it on the internet. So we're looking at another fascinating Virgo-inducing movie by Gaspar Noé. And if you don't know who that is, that's the same man behind Enter the Void and Irreversible, both movies listed in this video here. So this movie begins with an overshot of a woman screaming and like walking through the snow and just like falling down. She's in like super high distress. But at one point she seems to just be like down and flailing around and was like making super distressed snow angels. I may have chuckled a little bit. Like, what the fuck is going on? Why is this lady doing this? So, this movie though. So it starts with this interview process and a close-up on an old TV. There's some neat movies on VHS stacked next to the TV. I couldn't help but notice that they were the kind of movies that someone watching this movie would probably have watched and enjoyed or explored at some point. So it starts with the interview process, and the individual characters who are dancers are interviewed about their dancing careers and hopes. So if you don't get through this first part, you might be like, why the hell am I watching this? But I knew that I needed to stick with it. So the movie really starts with this rehearsal dance. So it's this very elaborate dance. It takes up a good chunk of the movie. I found the dancing very confusing and overwhelming, but super stimulating, and it really drew in my attention. So I feel like this dance scene is essentially a part of the movie that can be viewed as a completely different movie if you wanted to. Like, you could pull this out and set it separately and be like, okay, cool, some people dancing. They even do credits for the music and stuff, like, in the middle of the movie. Right after that. Well, I learned while I was learning about this movie that a lot of these scenes were just ad-libbed by the actors. There wasn't a whole lot of lines for them to memorize or anything. They just kind of went with it. Most of these people did not have acting experience. They very clearly do have dancing experience, but a lot of them didn't have acting experience, which I thought was interesting, very similar to the actor who plays Oscar in Enter the Void. So I found this dance really mesmerizing. My ADHD brain was like, all right. After that, we close with the after party. There is some sangria that has been made by the person who is running this whole situation. I imagine she's like the director or something. Then there's clips just switching between the different groups of people in this large abandoned place that they're practicing in. And they're all drinking and talking to each other. And you find out some more about them, but it doesn't really matter because it doesn't go anywhere. And you can kind of piece some things together and be like, these people know each other. These people don't know each other. These people have a history. It's just a bunch of chaotic stuff that, you wonder, am I supposed to hold on to this? Is this part of the story? No, not really. They're getting drunk and they have another little dance party, but this one seems to be more just like, haha, fun. But all of a sudden, everything takes a pretty sharp turn. There's this blonde girl. I think she's German. She kind of weirds me out. She just stuck out to me and made me uncomfortable. Turns out there's a reason for this that you don't see coming at all, because there's no logical progression in this movie. The real signal that something is horribly wrong is when blonde girl's just standing there on the dance floor and just pees on the floor. Like, all right. All of a sudden, one of the characters, a girl who is followed in a chunk of this movie, notices that something's not quite right and starts freaking out. It's like, there is something wrong. And you can tell, the emotion behind it is very intense. She genuinely is freaking out, wailing and crying and scared. So she starts wandering around the hallways, and we kind of follow her around from the behind shot, very similar to Gasper's other movies. It's continuous shot. There's a lot of continuous shots, just like he does in all of his other movies, and you can tell. So eventually people determine that someone has put a psychedelic substance in the sangria, in the alcohol. So they are tripping balls. And then from here on out, it's just this weird nightmarish trip. The one character who's running everything is a mother, and she has her son around. He is sleeping upstairs in a room, comes down, ends up drinking some of the sangria. She panics as soon as she starts feeling the hallucinogenic effects, locks him in a room because she thinks she has to keep him safe from the others. Doesn't work out so well, especially considering he consumed some of the drink. Then she loses the key to the room. There's just a ton of emotion in this. It felt kind of like a wave, and everything just shifted. So the one character that is hysterically wailing and wandering around confused, you follow her around and find out some of her connections to the other dancers. Again, not very relevant to the story. So everything just evolves from there. We have some crowd violence, and inhibitions just fall away. So people who didn't drink the drink were being accused of spiking the sangria. And one dude who just doesn't drink, which we find out earlier in the movie, is thrown out into the cold winter weather where he freezes to death. And another character is pregnant, which is why she didn't drink anything. And she is attacked and assaulted, and it's very dramatic and frightening. And then she's in a situation where she is so emotionally distressed, and everyone else is just pushing her to self-harm and to hurt herself in some way. And it's this very what is going on, this mob mentality stuff that's very frightening. So there's some sex, of course, a lot of conversation about sexual things. Some of the talks and the after party were a little creepy to me. We're talking about forcible sexual things. Not cool. So it just gets more and more chaotic. We're going all over the place. So you don't know what's happening besides everyone's just wailing and screaming and vibing, and it's just a mess. And the scene gets darker because the electricity goes out. because the mom had lost the key to the electrical room, which is where she locked her son in. And some stuff happened. So at this point, it's giving me strong irreversible vibes and without making me want to cry and bleach my eyeballs yet. So the movie just keeps getting more disorienting. Like the cameras are flipping upside down, the light is shrinking away, everything is kind of tinged in this red hue, and we end up with the camera completely upside down. It seems to be the following morning, and the police come in and find dead people, passed out people. They're kind of like, what the fuck? Many of these scenes are upside down, and it's just extremely disorienting. It makes you feel like you're tripping too. Well, the movie ends with the uncomfortable blonde woman dropping LSD into her eyes. So apparently she spiked the sangria just for funsies. This one's really stuck with me and was like playing in my head for the remainder of the day and was like messing with my ability to sleep. And like I still think about the dancing, but that's kind of how Gasper's movies hit. They just stick with you. So I don't know enough about psychedelics and especially LSD to determine how accurate something like this may be, but people can suck and be terrible and uninhibited regardless of drugs. So could be. So what I was looking at here is possible substance-induced psychosis. Substance-induced psychosis is a psychosis or detachment from reality that occurs when someone is under the influence of a substance. It can happen with like everything. The difference in substance-induced psychosis and run-of-the-mill psychosis that we may see in schizophrenia or some other psychotic disorder, once the drug wears off, usually the psychosis alleviates. So, I mean, yeah, I think that the Wailing Girl, that she may have been in more of a drug-induced psychosis. I think some of the people may have been. But there's another thing here. It's not just the high dose of drugs that has caused this, or the alcohol, because let's not forget that they're also super drunk. But I think that some people just let their inner chaos come out as a result. And humans are prone to mob mentality and crowd violence, which again we see. It's just wild animalistic human behavior. I don't think it can all be blamed on the LSD. And I think that the blonde girl is the kind of person who just wants to watch the world burn. So while these movies are both part of the French extremity movement, they're very different and enjoyable, but in two separate ways, in my opinion. They're not the most disturbing by any means, but Climax definitely stuck with me more than High Tension. High Tension felt more action-oriented and slasher and fun in like a really scary way. And Climax just makes you feel weird as hell. See, I don't know if you've ever had a real bad trip, but like, if you have, this movie might serve as some frightening reminders in some ways. Okay, I'm gonna Google, do people put LSD in their eyes? Yeah, okay, they do. Seems dangerous, but okay. If you want to request anything specific and make sure that it's higher priority, go ahead and check out my Patreon. If not, I'll get to you eventually. Oh man.